Right, you should be able to hear me, but if you give me 2 moments, I'll make sure you can hear Jen.
Technical issues.
There we go. All sorted now. Terrific. Brilliant. Welcome to the Midweek Mix-Up Podcast, a weekend edition with myself and the General C. This is a very impromptu one, of course, a little bit later than expected. But it's going to be a little bit of a shorter show as well. We're just going to have a little bit of fun here for about an hour or so. But we will be returning for a quick episode again tomorrow, where I unveil the winner of the God of War Ragnarok Framer Game competition. And again on Wednesday for the weekend for the actual midweek mix-up. This Tuesday, unfortunately, I cannot do the Save Tuesdays, but the rest of these fine chaps will be doing that anyway in my absence. However, welcome to everybody on this fine Sunday evening. Hope you've had a good weekend. General C, how are you today?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Hello, chat. How's it going? Not on cam this week because I didn't sleep very well last night and I look a bit like a zombie. So, but yeah, been not too bad, not too bad. Finished up God of War, replayed that on stream, the entirety of the main story. Finished that last night. It was an absolute blast. And been playing a metric ton of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
They're my two gaming things of the week. That's about it for me, gaming wise.
Nice. Sweet. And yeah, I know you went through the entire God of War again from scratch. Did you do that in New Game Plus, or did you just do that starting out New Game?
Just starting out new because I started a new PlayStation profile. I didn't bother to log into my old one, mainly because I couldn't remember the password and I couldn't be asked to mess around. So
That's fair.
I wasn't really up there with the trophies on my old account anyway, so I wasn't really bothered.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. Sweet. Yeah, obviously God of War Ragnarok comes out on Tuesday midnight, if not Wednesday for everybody else normally. So yes, hopefully everybody gets a chance to play that, or at least watch it.
I'll be,
when it comes out,
midnight streaming that.
yes, Jen is midnight streaming it. But yes, we have been playing a considerable amount of Call of Duty. When we've had the chance anyway. If not dribs and drabs, doing a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there. But what have you made of the multiplayer since launch?
Obviously, like on the first day of launch, there was a lot of problems. I actually streamed the first day of launch and had nothing but problems trying to get on. A bunch of people did as well.
Yeah.
That turned out to be an issue with your Activision account, but that's nothing that no one needs to worry about now because obviously the game's out in all regions. So, and then there was the issue with everyone being dashboarded. So that was a bit of a pain, but they buffed some of those issues out and the gameplay is a lot smoother now. It doesn't throw you back to the dashboard, doesn't crash the game. But yeah, I've been really enjoying the multiplayer. There's been some frustrating days where I've been playing like a bag of dog shit, literal bag of dog shit. So that was a bit frustrating. So I ended up just turning COD off, walking away, because I'm getting to that age now where I shouldn't be stressing over a game.
No,
so
absolutely
the best thing
not.
to do is to walk away and come back. But yeah, it's been a blast playing it with the lads. Custom games is a hell of a lot of fun, like they are in really any game. Gathering with your friends and testing out all the weapons because the weapons are all unlocked in custom game. So are the attachments. Anything that isn't is the camos, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the multiplayer. Surprisingly enjoying the competitive modes, and I'm not really one for objective-based modes.
Yeah.
Not really one for those types of modes, but been really enjoying those with friends. Not my typical cup of tea when I'm playing solo, though. I'll go play Team Death or jump into free-for-all.
Yeah, exactly the same. It's much prefer. I'm even not that bothered about kill confirmed, because you tend to find, especially if you're dropping in by yourself, that the people that you play with don't confirm. They just run, like everyone just runs around like headless chickens, killing people and then occasionally getting a tag when they happen to run through one.
Yeah, I was playing this morning with Jordan, and a few of his friends jumped on. Same issue. Most of the team don't go for the objectives, like even the enemy team. So sometimes you get a really significant like leap in heads of points and such like that. So yeah, that's unfortunate. You think most of those people that don't want to do the objective would go and play team death.
Yeah, I don't understand why they don't just filter out all the other objective games and then just go and play team deathmatch. But I guess they feel like they
Yeah.
could get easy kills on an objective game because people are trying to play objective.
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that like because a lot of people are not doing the objective, it stretches out the game time as well, doesn't it? And the points takes longer to get up because people are not doing the objective, so they can rack up kills and the silly amounts. Like I've seen
Yeah.
people with 50, 60 kills plus on a leaderboard just because they're not doing objectives.
Yeah, which is a bit mad. It's a bit mad.
Same problem with Halo though. All those first person shooter games, people jump into the objective games but don't do the objective, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously one thing I haven't had a chance to play yet, which I'll have to get to at some point this week, is the co-op game mode.
Yeah, I've not had a chance to play that yet either.
I really want to do them. There is obviously achievements for them as well and unlockables from them, so
Yeah.
I certainly want to.
I did play
I've heard that quite
Invasion.
fun,
That
but
was the one in the beta, right? Invasion.
yes, yeah.
I hated it in the beta,
Yeah.
but I'm coming around on it.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed playing that last night. More of a laid back experience, not too sweaty. There's AI in it that you can shoot, and it helps get your level for your weapons up.
Yeah.
So that helped me out a lot with some of the weapons that I can't stand using. There's a couple you need to use to unlock the MP5.
Yeah.
And I hated using those two guns because they are just awful. Finally, I unlocked the MP5. Bloody brilliant gun.
Yeah.
It's just a shame you have to struggle and use the terrible guns to unlock something good.
It's always the case in Call of Duty, to be honest, and this year it seems to be even more strange because you've got to literally use every gun in existence to unlock parts for weapons that you really like.
So there's parts of the new gunsmith I like with the attachments. I don't like the way you unlock the weapons, especially if some of the weapons in that unlock chain are terrible.
Yeah.
It just becomes an annoying grind experience, and I'm not on for that. But thankfully, there is an easy mode, and it shouldn't be that way, but it is. Jump in Invasion. If you're struggling with some weapons, pick off the AI. You'll level your weapons up pretty easy.
Yeah. Very easily, actually, which is always good. But yeah, other than that, it's been pretty awesome. I think what we want to do as well is kind of recap because Jen's obviously fresh off replaying God of War again, and of course God of War Ragnarok is coming out this week. And Vin, obviously, you know that Sonic Frontiers is coming out on Tuesday, so Sonic Frontiers comes out Tuesday. God of War Ragnarok comes out on Wednesday. So it's back-to-back releases there, and of course I think it's either tail end of next week or the week after the new Pokemon comes out as well. We've got Monkey Island this week as well, I do believe. So for those on Xbox, of course, for those on Switch and PC, you probably already played it. But yes, lots to play, but lots to discuss. But we're going to get into a nice recap of God of War 2018. And I'm going to play some random gameplay footage here from some no commentary guy on YouTube. Full thing, but we'll obviously not need to play all of it. But we'll get it going whilst we're watching this anyway. So there we go. Terrific. So yes, you should be able to. I'll just hide that. There we go. Should be able to see the gameplay footage on screen there of some dude playing God of War whilst we talk about God of War. There's plenty of, I'm sure, plenty in the chat for Vin. Studos, do your job. Give him a timeout. But yes, Jen, obviously after playing it near release for the first time and then replaying it now, what are your overriding thoughts about God of War 2018, just before the release of Ragnarok?
Personally, before I get into that, I didn't think I'd ever be able to go through this game again, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it had been a significant time since I first completed it on PS4, and I bloody loved it the first time. But playing it that second time, it sunk in a lot more. A lot of the lore sunk in than it did the first time. I think I appreciated a lot more of the storytelling the second time as well. Um, Initially, like from the get go, you have one of the greatest boss battle openings in history of gaming, in my opinion. That fight with the stranger, who, spoiler alert, if you haven't played the game, is eventually unveiled to be Boulder the Reborn. Can't be killed until he's damaged by mistletoe. Um, but that whole opening scene, I think I had a smile on my face the entire time when I was streaming that, because it was just such a good time. And just experiencing it for that second time, it was so much better, and it felt insane again. And I didn't think I would feel that way again about playing a game a second time.
Yeah.
But that entire build up to fighting him the second time, and then you land in hell, you're fighting him on that dragon as well, and like you're just punching the ever living crap out of each other, and it's just so tense. And that storytelling there is crazy, and it's something you don't get with many games and many platforms. And I think it's one of the reasons why I think I appreciate PlayStation single player games so much,
Yeah.
because some of their experiences are so impactful. They bring tears to your eyes, they put smiles on your faces, and there's no storytelling in the gaming industry that is on that level.
Yeah.
There's stories out there that are getting close to that level, with obviously Plague's Tale, Hellblade. They're getting close, but PlayStation have had a lot of time to craft that experience to perfection.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me about playing Ragnarok. How they're going to elevate the story of 2018 God of War is going to be something insane. We've all seen the reviews. I've actually not read them. I've only seen the scores.
And it was both me and even David Jaffe. He said exactly the same thing. He said he didn't know how it was possible to elevate the actual story on the game compared to 2018.
Yeah.
But every one of these reviews have said the story eclipses 2018. What it did great in the first, it's even better in the second. So that's astounded me, to be honest, because much like yourself, there wasn't much you could have done better with 2018 story.
Yeah. And the story of 2018 is just brilliant. You got this, your kid, Atreus, and just throughout the story, you see his evolution. He becomes like this bratty little kid, and then he starts to realize the things he's doing is not right, and he feels like the things he's doing is not controlled by himself. And then like all that comes to a tipping point where he finds a balance at the end of that game. The way they tell that story is so perfectly paced,
Yeah.
and we know it's going to be a big game, Ragnarok. How are they going to pace it so well? That's what worries me. But at the same time, I'm not so worried because they've already pulled it off.
Yeah.
But this is like a 40-hour long story.
That's another
Hopefully
thing
there's
that's.
no stumbles.
I was going to say that's another thing that's baffled me. Like, I don't know how long it took you to play through the second time. So the first time I played through God of War, I think it was like 25 hours for the story itself, or 20 to 25 hours, and then with the added additions, I think it's maybe another 5-6 hours worth of doing other bits. Maybe it's 10 hours tops. So you're talking maybe it's a 35-hour game. Now this time around, they've said the story's 40 hours. Or up to potentially anywhere between 40. Well, I think it's a 30 to 45, 35 to 45 hours, depending on how you play through.
Yeah.
And with the additional stuff to do, it's up to 70 hours, which is like double the size of
insane.
2018.
And it's crazy to think that, like, they said that this started as a DLC plan for the original God of War,
Like,
and
how
they
big would the
expanded
first
upon
one
it.
have been
They
if they
expanded
didn't?
upon it hugely. If it's going to be like a 40-hour game for the story, or a
Yeah,
35 to 40-hour game for the story, and then 70 hours for all the side content,
yeah.
that's insane. That is insane. They've pretty much doubled the amount of story from the first game.
Even like doubled the first game in
Yeah.
the second game. So you essentially, and I can understand why they've kind of wrapped it up in Ragnarok if that's the case, because otherwise they would have split it into 3 games that are about 30 hours each.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad they didn't, and that they pushed to just wrap it up in this, so
Yeah,
they can move on wherever God of War goes next. We don't know because we haven't played it.
yeah,
But that also excites me as well. Is what the hell comes after this?
yeah.
Because you have hints of what could happen in the next game, right at the end of the first game. You've got that like mural on the wall, and it sort of hints to Kratos dying. So, who knows what the hell happens? I don't expect that to happen because that would be too
The end
much
of
of
the
a foreshadowing to
franchise.
show you that. But I mean, if it does happen, does that mean then Loki becomes the main character? Loki, Atreus?
But then you couldn't call it
Is,
God of War.
what could they call it after that? Because Loki is not in terms of Norse mythology is not a god of war.
Yep, exactly. He's the
Maybe
god of
they go ahead
mischief.
and tell a different story from a different god. There is Tyr, and you obviously have hints in the first
And
God of
apparently,
War
yeah, well,
that he's been to other realms and all that with other gods, and he's
yeah,
got all the stuff he's collected from his travels to these other realms. So
yeah.
maybe they go with Tyr.
Well, this is the thing. Apparently, and I was obviously ACG's review is the only one I've listened to and watched, because it is, again, it's a no spoiler review, so it just gives the gameplay stuff you've already seen before. You don't see any of the bosses. He's even went to the extent where he's blurred out like the level up stuff and the and everything like that on screen, so you can't see what is being leveled up, what he's gaining, what kind of achievements or anything is coming up. So he's blurred everything out to the extent where it's just basic gameplay footage and scenery and stuff like that. So it's that's why, thankfully, and again, ACG does amazing work, but he very briefly touched upon the second the characters you mentioned there, Tyr and things like that, but he also said, of course, there are other characters you play aside from Kratos.
So is this the first time they do that in God of War?
I
Play
think
as
so.
different characters. That's interesting.
I
I wonder
mean,
how that's
do
going to
you
play out.
play Tyr for a small section, maybe? Do you play
Who
Atreus?
knows?
Like, if just Kratos goes somewhere and you just play Atreus and do it that way, or
I feel the safest bet would be play as Atreus, but from that wording you said there makes me feel like it's a
multiple?
different character, multiple characters.
If you get to play as Tyr, because Tyr is the Norse god of war, Kratos is, of course,
Yeah,
the Greek god of war.
yeah, that's going to be interesting. That kind of excites me even more because it gives you a taste of what could come after.
Yeah. And of course, one thing we're looking forward to, and I know everybody's looking forward to, who's played God of War 2018, is I know we speak about these CGI moments and things like that, but of course it's a one-shot game, which means all of it's in game. It goes straight from the set piece moments into gameplay, so there's no breaks in it. It doesn't break immersion, which is an awesome way of doing it, of course, and very few games do that. But it's such a well crafted, like the set pieces in this game are in 2018 are phenomenal. And you mentioned the dragon section before there, and it's like, as you mentioned, it's brutal. Like, he's like jumping on, chasing after his son, and then punching the living shit out of each other, and like falls off, and then he falls off, and then he flings him down, he jumps back up again, and they brain each other again, then he rips the dragon's wing, and then the dragon crashes, and then you're running through to try and see where your son is. And it's just like,
Yeah,
these
like
such
crossing that bridge to get to the Bifrost is one of those tense moments in the game as well. It's like you just rush in to try and to get there as quick as possible and see if Atreus is okay.
Yeah. And it's a case of like these set pieces are absolutely something to behold. And you mentioned again at the start the first boss battle. Like I've still not come across a game that give me the same feeling as that first boss battle on God of War.
Yeah. Like God of War has this quiet start, but it escalates so fast. Like the chopping of the tree in the beginning is a heartfelt moment. Obviously, that's the moment you learn that Atreus' mother's died,
Yeah.
Kratos' loved one. And then the journey back to the cabin, and then like Kratos setting up that funeral pyre for his wife. And then they go inside, and then the stranger shows up knocking at the door because he's looking for basically Kratos' mum, which you find out at the end of the first game.
Yeah.
And then that like instant switch from them two talking to fighting is just insane. It's no other game has done an opening boss battle on that level of storytelling as well.
Yeah.
No other game that I've played, at least, that's given me that impactful feeling.
And like you
And
say, it's the way that they do the introductions to each boss battle. It's not just a case of here's the next boss, and then a tiny little thing where it's like the boss just making a pose, and then you attack the boss, and then kill the boss, and that's it. Like each of these bosses has a story to go with it. Like even Baldur's brothers, Modi and I've forgotten the other one.
Magnum Modi.
Yeah, Magnum Modi. Like you see them like interacting with you through sections before you eventually get rid of them. I mean, you have like multiple little kind of interactions with them beforehand. But it's they're all set up correctly, and the characters are set up correctly. And like you see, I think personally, like the stranger, Baldur, is probably one of the best villains I've seen in the game, like anti-villain, because he's
definitely one of the most memorable video game villains in
when you
years.
Like you actually sympathize with them because of when you find out what exactly went wrong, like killing him, you feel like you need to kill him because he wants it.
Yeah, because like he's lived for
sick.
so long with the curse that has been put on him. Although it doesn't seem like a curse to obviously his mother who put the curse on him, which is Freya.
Yeah.
But like you can feel that. Like I don't think I would ever want to live forever, and especially living forever and not being able to feel anything. Like he explains, he don't enjoy food, he can't feel the cold or the warmth, and that living like that must be awful.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone would want to live like that.
Can't feel pain, can't die.
Something cool, not to die.
Yep.
But not being able to taste, feel the wind blow or anything like that would be awful. And then that, like at the end, when he does punches Atreus, but he also punches into that mistletoe arrow, and that breaks the curse. And then that snap between him realizing he's not cursed anymore is a freaking awesome moment as well.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, I can feel again. He's like, it's so cold, and I can feel the wind, and he's like relieved. And then when he dies, he's kind of it's a kind of happy moment for him, should we say, because he's kind of been stuck like this forever.
Yeah, he's always wanted to feel that what everyone feels, and he's been living hundreds of years not being able to feel that experience.
It's just mad. And again, for me, it's a case of Baldur was going into the next game. How are they going to top a villain like Baldur? Like, how good is Thor and Odin going to be in this game? That Baldur kind of
I have no idea.
is forgot because like Baldur's such a good character.
It feels like the way they're portraying the story from the trailers feels like Thor is going to be the main sort of one that comes up multiple times throughout the story to fight you.
And no,
But I
and
feel like that's too obvious.
I was going to say, like, the kind of, from what I've seen anyway, they kind of do the same in this one like they did in the last, and you fight Thor pretty early on, like at least the first fight.
I wonder if that does mirror the exact ending of the game when you, at the first game, you return home and then you have that sort of flash forward / dream sequence that Atreus mentions.
Yeah.
I wonder if it plays out like that, the exact way from that scene.
Depends, or does he, because obviously with this game being called Ragnarok, is it a case of they leave Midgard and they go elsewhere?
Possibly. It's going to be interesting though, because I wonder how close to Norse mythos they're going to stick to with it being Thor and the Midgard serpent that fight each other. I wonder if that is going to happen.
Yeah. And they've mentioned as well that they've obviously they've reused sections of the game, or at least areas of the game from the first one, which means you can revisit some of the older places that you've been to before, of course, as well as all the new places. So they've still got some of the recognizable areas you've been to before, and they kind of expand upon them. But yeah, it's just it was such an impactful game. Like, it was one of them first specifically for me anyway.
It was my first God of War experience.
Yeah, same. My first God of War, but also pretty much the reason I bought a PlayStation last gen in the first place. And the reason I'm still on PlayStation now, to be honest, it's God of War. And yes, I've picked up The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, Spider-Man, and all of those as well. But nothing's quite had the same impact. Uncharted collection, of course. Nothing's quite had the same impact to me as God of War 2018.
So I think my reasoning behind getting the PlayStation 3 was for The Last of Us, and then obviously I got the PlayStation 4 because I fully expected The Last of Us 2 to happen. But like having God of War and Spider-Man and all that were equally amazing games in my opinion. So yeah, that's like kept me on PlayStation. Obviously, it took me a while to get PS5, but I'm glad I did get a hold of a PS5 in time for this, and replaying God of War just before it to jog my memory and refresh it before going into Ragnarok. I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And is there anything that you've gained from replaying the game a second time round, like in your mind about the game going into the second one, that kind of gets you even more excited?
Mainly the lore, because I think in my first playthrough when I was playing it on PS4, not much of the lore actually stuck with me, because first time round in a lot of games, many things don't stick with you. They slip past because you're constantly moving forward in the game. I think that's what I took from replaying it the second time. To a lot of that lore and those story beat moments and those like calm story beat moments, and then the high level octane intense story beat moments. I think they stuck with me a lot more this time round, and it's my second time ever playing the game. Yeah, I think I appreciate that the most.
Yeah. And again, for me, and I don't know how you feel the second time round, but if I've only played this game through once, and of course that was because having completely finished it, and I mean platinumed it within the first week, I loved it, and there was literally nothing else I could do in the game, and that, of course, as much as I enjoyed the fact that I completely finished everything to do, it was also a pretty sad moment because I couldn't experience it all again.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go through them moments again and have the same impact like they did the first time round. And the things that I loved about the first playthrough especially was when you're just sailing around to certain parts of the map and you've got Mimir telling you stories.
That's some of my favorite moments in that game, is him telling you stories.
And it's just the way he tells them. It's like proper like bedtime storytelling, like by Mimir. It's like so well done, and that's the way lore should be done. Like instead of giving you like
Yeah.
these, like a lot of games do, like they kind of just give you these text things to read when you want to read them, and then that's the lore if you want to read the
Yeah.
lore.
I'd never ever bother reading the lore in
Exactly.
games. Most of the time, I skip it unless it's a game I like am proper into. Then I'll go back and read through the lore.
And I
But I
feel
don't do it
like,
often.
yeah, and I feel like the way Mimir does, or at least the way they've got Mimir to read out and kind of narrate these lore sections in between when you're traveling and there's nothing else going on, is the best way to do it because you've got like a nice little kind of story being told to you whilst
Yeah.
you're traveling the world.
Yeah, and you get that with Atreus as well, because like you'll have
Like little
lore
interactions.
written on walls that only Atreus can read, and Atreus will read that to you. But you also then unlock that lore, and you can go back and read it again later if you want to. But you get that told to you. It's not here's the lore. You can read it later, because most people don't. Most people appreciate that lore being told to you, and then they move on after they've had that experience. It's like audio logs in majority of first-person shooters. I prefer that than having to read something. I'm not playing a game to read something. If I wanted to read something, I'll pick up a book.
Yeah, exactly, and I hope some developers take heed of that and learn how to do it. Now, again, one of my favorite indie games of all time did something very similar, and it was a game called Bastion. And of course, if you remember, even just playing through Metal Hellsinger, they've got again Troy Baker doing. I think it's Troy Baker doing the voice of the narration in Metal Hellsinger.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be done. It's like they tell you the story on the way through, and whilst you're playing, even if it's narrated to you, like that's the best way to do
It's
the
more
lore.
impactful that way.
Yeah,
Way more impactful than having to stop or come back to it later. And then by the time you do come back to it, you've forgotten which piece of lore it is that you wanted to read anyway.
that's one thing I hope a lot of people kind of took out of playing 2018 as well. To be honest, was the lore and listen, because it's not just what people need to remember as well for the lore in God of War is it's not just the lore for God of War. It's actually Norse mythology. Like they're
Yeah, they
literally
don't make shit
telling.
up.
Yeah, they're literally telling.
I mean, obviously they've got Kratos, which is the part of the story they do make up.
Yeah,
They had Kratos in there, but the lore surrounding them all is legitimate Norse mythology stories. You
yep,
can go and pick up a book, read that book, and be like, "Oh shit, that was in God of War."
yep. And the only thing they're going to change from the second one, and spoiler alert, for Norse mythology, um, but and this is what I'm looking forward to seeing how they change it compared to the actual what happens, should we say, in real Norse mythology. Um, so in Ragnarok, which is of course the end of the world, Fenrir, who is the son of, I'm sure Fenrir is the son of Loki.
And so is the Midgard serpent, and I believe the eight-legged horse. I can't
Yep.
remember the eight-legged horse's name though. That always slips my mind.
Yeah, same. So Fenrir is the son of Loki, and of course it is foretold in Norse mythology that, or Norse prophecy, that he will grow to become the most powerful being, essentially in all of Midgard, in all of the Nine Realms. So the only way to prevent him kind of causing the end of the world is to chain him with special kind of magical chains and lock him up. Now, of course, Ragnarok still happens. He does get broken out of those chains, and he does fulfill his prophecy in Norse mythology and kills Odin. So he kills the Allfather. Now, of course,
He's also the reason that Tyr loses an arm in Norse mythology.
yep, because he bites it off when he's kind of fighting with him. But then Fenrir is killed by Odin's brother. However, we don't know if that is the route that they've taken. Because of course you would expect in this game Kratos and Atreus to fight Odin to the death at the end, and not Fenrir. Or do they have Odin's brother in this game, and you kill Odin's brother as the final boss, and not Odin?
I don't know. All I know is I want to fight Odin in the game, and I hope we do. And I want to see the other gods show up as well, like All, the god of the hunt. We all know that, but he basically can't be beaten in combat if he turns combat into a game.
That's the
That
thing.
would be an interesting boss fight, I think, if you fight him. Because how do you beat him? He's god of the hunt. He can't be beaten because of that's pretty much his skill set.
You would think so, but of course, we know Kratos, even though he's getting older, he's still got the regenerative abilities, so he can regenerate his health. Can he be killed? Realistically, outside of the confines of the game, where of course you die if you get constantly hit by things, but in the premise of who Kratos is, can he be killed? He's already thousands of years old.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one because I mean, if that mural at the end of the first game is correct, then Kratos can be killed. But by what means?
Yep.
Is another thing. Is it going to be a similar thing to like Boulder in the first game, where Kratos gets injured by something that weakens him?
You never know. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out and how he ends up overcoming both Thor and Odin. But of course, we know there's multiple bosses in between that as well. So it's interesting to see who else they've got in there.
I'm interested to find out what's going to replace the Valkyrie battles. I'm wondering if that will be.
Oh no, they're still in.
Gods. Are they?
Yep, still got Valkyries. Meaner than ever.
Oh, that's going to be interesting then, because you fight. I think they're corrupted Valkyries, aren't they?
Yeah, you fight
The
some
first game.
corrupted Valkyries, but yeah, there's of course they can essentially ascend as many people as they want to become Valkyries. So the last one you beat in God of War 2018 is the Valkyrie Queen. But of course, like as all warriors, when you ascend to Valhalla, which is essentially how you become a Valkyrie in the first place. You're one of the bodyguards of Odin. That is chosen by Odin himself. So essentially, they can bring back Valkyrie as many times as they want because it's up to Odin who and how many.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Freya becomes a Valkyrie again, because it is.
We know Freya's still there, and she's very much still very pissed off. So it'll be interesting to see how that story plays out. That's for sure.
I just really hope we do get to fight the large pantheon of Norse gods.
Yeah, we know
cool.
Tyr fights with you, so that's a good thing because of course the God of War fights alongside the Norse God of War. So that's one awesome thing. But again, there is as you mentioned, there is an absolute pantheon of gods to choose from.
And there's like lesser gods, and then like the more powerful gods like Odin and all that, which will probably be the main battles.
Yeah.
But the lesser gods, I'm wondering how that'll play out if they're in the game.
I'm wondering if they've got the birds, Hugin and Munin, in the game as well. As I mentioned, the ravens.
Kind of have to, right?
You would assume so.
Surely you're gonna meet Odin at some point, and that's something that a lot of people are expecting. But I don't know how that will play out. That'll be very interesting.
And of course, we've seen the two. His dogs, his wolves are there. So you've already got that.
Frankie and Gary.
Yeah, Frankie and Gary. Yeah. And obviously you see Fenrir in, I think, more the TV spot than the actual gameplay footage. You see them two standing in the woods, and there's this absolutely humongous Fenrir kind of standing just the head size of like a 25-foot tree in front of you.
That's going to be an insane fight, I reckon, if you fight
It is,
Like him.
but are you going to fight Fenrir, or does Fenrir fight with you? With who Loki is?
I don't know. I mean, surely, maybe at first he fights against you and then realizes who Atreus is. Surely that has to lead to Tyr losing his arm, though, if they stick to Norse
Yeah,
mythology.
yeah,
I mean, like, there is a thing that Mimir says to Kratos that he's basically changed everything with what Ragnarok is, because him being there has obviously changed um, what happens with Ragnarok, because
yeah.
he's not supposed to be there. He was not foretold in Norse prophecies that would be there, obviously, in terms of this story. So I wonder how drastically the story of Ragnarok will change. Because surely they have to keep it from being blindly obvious with which gods die. So maybe Odin don't die at the end.
See, that's the thing as well, though. It's like it would be blindly obvious if you take a keen interest in Norse mythology, like we do and we know. But if you're not and you don't, it would be a good way to teach people about Norse mythology.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the vast majority of people don't know that Odin dies or has died. They just believe Odin is all living. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. It'd be interesting to see what they do if they do change it.
Definitely, definitely. Is there anything else before we kind of move on to another topic? Anything else you want to kind of, or you hope to see in Ragnarok on release day? What are you hoping to see in this game?
That's a hard, hard one to say, really.
Personally, what are you hoping for? Of course, the easiest one. You hope it's as good as or better than 2018.
I'd
We
be fine
know,
with as good as,
yeah,
because it's hard to top that. Surely it's going to be hard to
yeah.
top that if
We've said it, but the
they
people
do.
have said it's better. So
Yeah, and I've steered clear of those reviews, even the non-spoilery ones. Just how it is when I play a game I'm looking forward to. I stay away from all reviews until afterwards, and then I go and listen to what people have thought about the game.
yeah,
If it tops the first game, I'll be very surprised, because that was a masterpiece of a story alone. I think the most thing that I personally want to see is as many of the Norse gods as possible,
yeah,
because there's a huge list of Norse gods, lesser and powerful.
definitely. And of course, we still have Mimir accompanying us around the world. So
Yeah, I mean it's heavily hinted in that mural at the end of the first game as well that he is put back on the tree.
okay,
'Cause I think it's the very final mural, the one that also hints to Kratos' death in the end of the first game. It's on that same mural. It's like the tree, but Mimir's head is back on it.
okay. Surely they'll be able to break him out of that at some point and give him his body back.
Yeah, I mean it's heavily hinted as well that the dwarves are gonna build Mimir something, because Mimir mentions that they took measurements of his head
Yeah,
and then they leave him behind, which is bloody hilarious.
it is. That was a funny little section, mind, when you finish the game.
Yeah, yeah. And you go back down those stairs after your trip to the highest peak in all 9 realms, and then like Mimir's head's on the floor. I totally forgot about that. It made me chuckle when I was streaming it.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, so
of course, how do you top that ending?
I don't know. I kind of don't want to think about it, just in case it's a spoiler. So I try not to think about it. But I don't know. It's a tough one. I think the best way for them to top the story is to maybe seed what comes after. Or maybe they don't bother. Who knows? Maybe this is it for God of War. And then maybe something else comes out afterwards. God of something else.
Well, we know Corey's doing a different game altogether. As the second project. Not God of War related. So we shall see. It depends. As obviously, it's a bit like Assassin's Creed. Like God of War will just go to the next thing. So he's already done Greece.
Yeah.
Now he's done Norse. So what else? Celtic.
After this God of War, I fully expect them to take a large break from God of War like they did between 2018 and the previous God of War.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So I think whatever comes after God of War wise will be a leap in comparison to what we've experienced with these two games, or what we will experience with Ragnarok.
Now, this is one thing as well that we're experiencing differently this time around, Jen, because you get to experience God of War Ragnarok in the splendor of PS5's enhanced modes, while I am stuck with, of course, the glorious hairdryer for a little while longer.
I've heard that
it works well, but it's
very
loud.
Loud with God of War.
Yeah, it works well but loud. So yes, that's going to be interesting. That's definitely going to be interesting. I'm going to try and set my stream up and get my PS4 Pro working on my Elgato. I had issues with it last time, which is why it hasn't been streamed before. So I'm going to try and get it hooked up, try and get it working. If it works, then I'll be streaming God of War Ragnarok on PlayStation 4 Pro so people can see the old gen as well as the new one. And of course, Jen will be streaming God of War Ragnarok on PlayStation 5. Of course, you have an abundance of performance choices and graphical choices to choose from on that. There's like 6 modes or something stupid. Plenty to choose from.
Yeah, I think I'll just keep it down to performance. And
well, the one thing
interested in all
the one thing I will
stuff.
say is have a look at AC, because ACG at the very beginning of his review, he details actually. Yes, it is. I think it's at the beginning of ACG's review. He details the different performance modes, and he shows you which ones are kind of better, should we say, which one's the best kind of visual plus performance mode version that he stuck with all the way through. And of course, after that, just switched off.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll be able to do that, obviously, because my Elgato is not, in terms of like the newest Elgatos, not the greatest, so sort of stunted being able to show off the game in all of its glory.
Oh, you never know. I've only got the HD 60, HD S plus, whatever the hell it's called.
I can't even remember what mine is.
The S plus. Hello there, fun speculation.
HD 60.
Is yours just the 60?
Yeah, just a HD 60. I had it for a long time.
Right, okay.
And during upgrade.
Even because I just use the S plus, and that just allows you to retain all of your stuff on your console and on your screen, and it still records up to 1080p 60.
Mine doesn't do. I don't get to
view it,
when I plug in the Xbox to view it in all those extra beautiful
silky
features
frames
that make the games look silky smooth.
Yeah,
that's fair. I'm definitely due an upgrade of an Elgato, and that's something I'm gonna do in the new year.
But what I will say though is you probably will. Granted, they've probably worked miracles on the PS4 Pro version, and apparently it runs well and it runs great and it looks just as good as 2018. And to be honest, that's fine for me until I play the PS5 version. But of course, I think you'll still notice a difference between Jen's stream and my stream in terms of the level of detail and things like that. So yeah, you'll have 2 versions to watch anyway. But yeah, you're going to be streaming it on Tuesday midnight, but you're going to be going live at 11:45, I do believe.
Yeah, I'll be live 11:45. Waiting for the countdown timer. Hopefully they don't sting me like Activision did with Call of Duty multiple times.
Yeah.
I'll be waiting there till 3 a.m. to play it.
To be
Fingers
fair, I
crossed I
think, because
don't have to wait.
I was going to say I didn't stream God of War 2018, but I think, from what I remember, I just started playing it like as soon as that countdown timer disappeared, and I was like, yes, and then just didn't come off it. And I think you're planning to do pretty much the same, just go for it, just stream for hours.
Yeah, I'll probably be up to the wee hours of the morning, like 5 a.m.
Just make sure you get plenty of sleep during the day.
Yeah, I'm so ready for Ragnarok, especially after playing 2018, which, like I mentioned earlier, was an amazing experience to play for a second time.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, and it still holds up to this day. I mean, it's hats off to the work of the team at Sony Santa Monica, because it's still an absolutely beautiful game. Performs really well. The acting is second to none. The story's brilliant. The audio is phenomenal. The set pieces are unbelievable. So yeah, to round kind of the discussion up, I think it's hard to see how they better this game, but from all intents and purposes, all of the reviewers have all come to the same conclusion that it does better everything that the first one did. So it sounds like we're in for a treat.
It's hard to think about after just completing the first one again, literally last night.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to think about considering how good that game was.
Yeah. And here's a tough question for you. Considering you're a Spidey fan, I'm not. So it's easy for me to say, so maybe it's not so much for you, but out of the two, Spidey and God of War, which takes the tree for your most favourite on PlayStation?
See, that's one I need to think about for a few seconds. Because I've just literally replayed both of them.
Like,
back to back, pretty much.
So exactly, fresh in your mind.
Spider-Man. So they're both fresh in my mind, and it was a similar experience with Spider-Man. It was the first time I played that game since that originally came out.
Yeah.
And I bloody loved playing that the second time. So much so that I'm nearing 100% completion of Spider-Man. But I never 100% completed God of War. And I think that's something I am going to go back and do.
I would say finish. Ragnarok. I was going to say finish Ragnarok, the normal story. And when you finish the normal story on Ragnarok, go back and 100% the first one, and then finish the 100% on the second one. So then you've got back-to-back 100%.
Yeah.
Because essentially what you're doing in both of these for 100% is finding the glass crows, killing the Valkyries, and it's also been confirmed as well, and you'll be happy to know, Jen, that there is no difficulty achievements on this one as well, so you don't have to be high difficulty to enjoy it and 100% the game.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than being forced to play a game on the highest difficulty if you're not into playing.
Yeah, especially the 100% it. Yeah.
Yeah, but to think about what one was the better experience and what one is my favorite PlayStation game, I think I have to say God of War.
It's just the story that kind of pips it.
Yeah, it's just the story and the bond between Atreus and Kratos and the whole build-up throughout the entire story of him calling him boy.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when he actually acknowledges him as his son, is such a fucking special moment.
Yeah.
And like him explaining to Atreus that he is a god, he's not always been a good person. He has killed many people for good reasons and bad. And then that moment when you're heading back down off the highest peak in Jotunheim, and Atreus basically wants to know why his origin of his name, and Kratos explains that it was a soldier in the Spartan army, and that's such a fucking sweet moment.
Yeah. And he has the main man on screen now as well. Would you say he tops all of the villains in Spider-Man?
Yeah.
It's honestly so well acted.
It's not just the acting; it's the body movements as well. And we all know this is like body captured as well. So those movements are that guy's actual movements. So the body language in the characters in this game is something I don't think I acknowledged in Spider-Man. I'm not entirely sure how well the body language was in that game. It's
Yeah.
something I didn't think about, but in this game, the body language on all the characters, like got Kratos, who's more sort of like mellowed out in his older age, and then when he's just like building up to kick the shit out of this guy,
Yeah.
because he's just like that calm and collective psychopath, like you don't want to mess with. But yeah, I think the Stranger Boulder is probably one of the greatest video game villains of all time, especially in most recent years. Um, and this is just one of the greatest stories and Norse mythology stories I've ever experienced.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, Ragnarok comes out on Wednesday, midnight Tuesday. But on Wednesday, so of course everybody can play the sequel to the critically acclaimed and highly rated 2018, and of course my original game of the year for 2018. I don't know if it was yours at the time or whether or not it takes that spot now.
Thinking back, I can't remember what actually came out in 2018. I'm pretty sure Red Dead came out in 2018, right? So I think Red Dead
Yes.
might have been my game of the year
Red Dead 2,
back
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a huge fan of like Wild West settings.
Yeah.
Probably equally as much as I am a fan of Viking settings. But if I was to think about it now, I've always got to a point in Red Dead when I've tried to replay it where I just give up, and it's usually at the same spot. So I think if I was to think about it now, if this was 2018 and I'd just played God of War Ragnarok, I think it would have been my game of the year that I'd picked back then. But obviously I didn't, because I picked Red Dead back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think Red Dead's one of them games that are hard to replay, and I've tried many times.
It's
And
because it's so
I've been
huge, and
successful.
I've had that problem with really big games as well. Because
Mm.
it's such a big game, you get to a certain section and you already remember how much more of the game you've got to play, and it kind of puts you off. Because when you first play through it, you're
Red
just
Dead is a
enjoying the
beefy
ride.
experience.
Yeah.
Because not only have you got this like 20-ish, 30-ish hour main story, you've also got this like 5 to 7 hour prologue.
Yeah.
Is it prologue?
Yeah. The start of the game, that takes ages before the
No,
game
I'm thinking
actually
about
gets going.
the end of the game.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that like lengthy bit with John Marston just dragged out. And thinking about that now, I didn't enjoy that part of Red Dead as much as I did the rest of the game. And with not Ragnarok, God of War 2018, I enjoyed the whole bloody lot.
Yeah. And again, like literally the only reason I haven't played it back through is because, unfortunately, I finished it all. So you got the glory of getting the achievements and everything again because it's a fresh account. And I think if I had, then I would do the same thing. I'd just go back through and platinum it again because I can. But I can't.
Do you think you'll replay this after you play Ragnarok?
No.
No.
Literally same reason, and it's not just because of that. It's the same with every game I've 100%ed. I don't feel like I can get anything out of the game anymore. Like I know the story, I don't want to spoil the story anymore, or should we say, put a in my mind, make it worse, or think of it any worse because I've already finished everything there is to do in the game. So
I think with me, like obviously because it had been so long since I played the first game, it mostly felt like I was playing a brand new game because there was a lot of this God of War that I forgot,
Yeah.
and I was like re-experiencing it again. I was like, oh shit, I totally forgot this happened. Totally forgot the majority of the ending of that game as well. And
See, that's the thing. Like the entire game, aside from the puzzles, is fresh. It's still fresh in my memory. Like I still remember all the fights, like the boss fights. I still remember all the big scenes. I still remember all the story beats. Like when you go to the when you go to Freya's kind of foresty turtle house, and for the
yeah,
first time, and
that
um
was such a cool experience.
yeah,
That turtle raising up out of the ground was so cool.
yeah, and of course when you learn that she's um Stranger's mother for the first time, you're like, oh right, okay, and it's kind of one of them moments where both of them are thinking like, why didn't you say anything? Like this is your son, you didn't say nothing. Um, there's like so many moments, and all of them stick in my mind, and the only bits that don't, and I mentioned this when you were streaming the last section yesterday, is the puzzle moments. I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember this.
Yeah. The bit where you have to flip
All the switches and things like that.
to break the chains and flip the temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the things that I didn't really enjoy in God of War. Those puzzle bits, I think they weren't too bad, but they were just a little bit tedious.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just a little bit. And again, this is what I come like, and I've still got my, somewhere on my hard drive, I've still got my original 2018 God of War review, which did go on a website. That website's no longer there. It did get quite a few clicks, a couple of thousand clicks, and watches and things. But I'd give it a 9 point. I think I give it a 9.5 out of 10, despite it being my game of the year. Because it did have some slow beat moments, with like when you're down in the caves and things, and it doesn't, like, nothing really progresses for a bit. There was a few kind of graphical things that I picked up on, like some of the water effects on some of the sections was a bit weird. And it didn't really in keep with the rest of the ambience that they were going for. But aside from that, everything else was pretty much masterpiece level. So, yeah, it was. It's just so fresh in my memory. It's one of them games that you think about like frequently. It's like, God, I wish I could play that again from scratch, like, and just forget everything I know about it. Just forget it completely.
Yeah, in a way, I'm glad I forgot a lot of this game.
Yeah,
It was pretty much like re-experiencing it all over again.
and you never originally
Especially for some
fought
of
all
the
the
parts, like
Valkyries before, have you?
no, that's something
I
I'm gonna go back and do though once I've done
can't
Ragnarok.
wait. I cannot wait for you to be fighting them Valkyries. Because
I
I
did
just
fight some of them in the original game, and they were a pain in the ass. And there was a few times when I stumbled across them in my replay,
yeah,
and I was like, I know exactly where I am. I'm not going down there yet.
yep. And it was like the Valkyrie Queen at the end. Jesus Christ, that took like that was one of the sections that took us a day or two to get it finished, and that was the literal last achievement that I needed. And I was like, she is fucking winding me up big time, because she knows all of the moves from all of the Valkyries, and she uses them, and there is a pattern to it, and you've got to remember the pattern that she attacks you in, otherwise you'll never beat her.
Well, I'm never going to beat her then. 'Cause I'm terrible at remembering patterns.
She's a pain, no matter what difficulty you put it on. She's a pain in the arse, and you can't do it. And it's one of the, but it's also so satisfying when you beat them, because you're like, oh, thank fuck for that. You're like, get in.
The first one, bumping into the first one, was enough to make me go, nope.
Yeah, yeah, absolute pain in the arse. But they're the standout, because they are some of the best side bosses ever. Like, very clever the way you do them, and of course to free them from their curse, you kind of tear their helmets off at the end.
Yeah, that's why I'm really hoping that some of the side bosses in this game are some of the minor gods.
Yeah,
I really want to fight the God of the Hunt because I think that would be an insane boss battle. Like, how do you beat that?
Yeah. We know they've got other mini bosses in there, like we've seen in the trailer, like giant alligators and things like that. So there's bound to be some surprises in there. Not long
I
to
can't
go
wait.
now.
We're only a few days away.
Only a few days away. Only a few days away. But before we wrap this show up, we're going to be talking about a couple of the other games due out this month. A few others that would that Jen's been mentioning as well is to picking one of these up. But we'll start with the one that's coming out just before God of War, and one that Hertog Vin will be playing tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry, Tuesday, and that is of course Sonic Frontiers. Now, this is the kind of a new version of Sonic, a reimagining, should we say, of Sonic as it was. It's an open world action adventure Sonic. Of course, we know there was Sonic Adventures, but this is taking it to the next level again. A lot of attacks, a lot of
the
different.
reviews out for that.
Tomorrow.
Be interesting to see what that gets.
Yeah. A lot of different attacks from Sonic. I've heard, and even Xbox Mick got a chance to play it when he was at EGX in London. And even he said it is pretty fun. He's not a big Sonic fan, so it's not something that he would play immediately. But he enjoyed what he played, and of course, if that's not a Sonic fan saying that he enjoyed it, begs the question: how good is it, really? A lot of attacks, a lot of bosses. You gain abilities. You can do super attacks and special attacks, and it's a big open world. Of course, loads of characters, loads of bosses, a fully fleshed out story to it. So, is that some? I know it's probably not something you're going to pick up. Definitely not picking up day one. But is it something that you might pick up in the future? Does it interest you? This new look Sonic?
I'm interested more in the open world aspects of it because I want to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But I never really grew up watching Sonic, playing Sonic games. Same with Mario. Never really have any nostalgia for Mario or Sonic. I have more nostalgia towards Crash Bandicoot than I do Sonic. So it's a maybe. Maybe I'll pick it up when it's on sale, just to try out more of the open world of it, and who knows, maybe it turns me into a Sonic fan. But yeah, I'm not too bothered about it. Not too bothered.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I'll probably get it on sale at some point. But it's certainly intriguing to see where it's going. It looks pretty good. The attacks and things look quite cool. I used to be a Sonic fan years ago, but again, as you get older, you get into more kind of adult games, as we've been just speaking about God of War here. Far more adult orientated, let's say, with a much more adult themed story than Sonic. But yeah, it's certainly intriguing. And thanks to Vin, he will be recording an hour and a half's worth of gameplay footage for us to show all of yourselves. Sonic Frontiers as well on Wednesday. So of course, if you were thinking about it, or you're on the fence, as to whether or not you want to pick it up or might pick it up in the coming weeks, of course you can watch that gameplay footage and hopefully that helps you decide. Another game that you haven't had a chance to play yet, which is coming out very soon on Xbox. Monkey Island, Return to Monkey Island comes out on Xbox Game Pass out of the blue. Originally announced for Switch and PC.
It's on Game Pass, isn't it? I totally forgot about it.
It is. It's coming out on Game Pass. I think it's this week, if not next week. Are you looking forward to eventually getting into your first Monkey Island experience?
I'm obviously going to play it because it's coming to Game Pass. Wherefore, I'm going to get round to it right away because so many other games, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to beat God of War. And I'm probably going to try 100% God of War, and I'll stream a large majority of that. I'm definitely going to pre-install it if I can, and get round to it, because it will be the first ever Monkey Island game I play.
Yeah.
Maybe I end up going back and playing the older ones, experiencing them, minus the one that you and Mick tell me to avoid.
Yes. Yeah, the 3D one.
But yeah, it's something I am going to play. Just probably not anytime soon, because
Yeah.
God of War it's going to be taking all my time.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. And one of the I say one of the last ones. There's quite a few games coming out on Game Pass this month.
Isn't Warhammer Darktide out this month, or is
Yes.
it this month?
I think it's this month, and Somerville.
Somerville, yeah. I almost forgot about that as well.
So another big one. And of course, aside from some awesome indie titles coming into Game Pass as well, we've also got another big one on the Nintendo side, and this is what I wanted to speak about. Of course, Jen, even on his stream last night, was like, "Yeah, I haven't got a Switch. I think I should get a Switch." But yes, you should get a Switch, Jen. Make the trifactor of
I'm thinking
consoles.
about it, because I can get it like on the same contract as where I got my phone from, and
Yeah.
just pay off for it. So I'm debating doing that,
Mm-hmm.
just because the new Pokemon game looks really good, and I want to play it, and I haven't played a Pokemon game in years, and I'm feeling that Pokemon itch that needs to be scratched.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
might just pick up that. Probably won't stream it though. I know Nintendo are a bit
Oh,
anal with their copyright
absolutely.
infringements on.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's hard to tell really because Barely Making Rent hasn't. So Barely Making Rent, one of our awesome viewers, and of course, if you're not already subscribed to them, go and chuck them a subscription. They've got an awesome little streaming group set up as well on that channel with a load of friends that stream different days and different content. And they've literally just finished up their final episode of Arceus Legends. But they do a Pokemon stream as well. I don't think they've had any issues with it, but I know they'll be looking forward to the new Scarlet and Violet. But Arceus Legends was the first run out, should we say, from Pokemon to a new version of Pokemon, a true open world Pokemon for the first time.
yeah. So
And
the version of the Switch I'm thinking about picking up is just the handheld one, the Switch Lite.
yes, yeah.
Not really all that bothered about picking it up, docking it, if it's going to be mainly a handheld experience. I mean, I've heard that
If
docking
that's
it
if
takes
you're
a bit
picking
of
up the
the
Switch Lite, then you can't
resolution
stream it
down a bit.
anyway. Yeah, if you're picking up
Yeah.
the Switch Lite, then it's unstreamable.
But yeah, I'm not really bothered about streaming Nintendo content anyway.
Yeah,
I only really want it for Pokemon.
yeah, and a few others. I've heard there is a few other games and Mario Kart. Let's face it.
Mario Kart's one I'll probably pick up and play as well. But
It's a must-have. Mario Kart 8
Yeah,
is brilliant.
yeah, I've just got that Pokemon itch that needs to be
Yeah.
scratched, and
And it is.
I'm thinking about getting it.
Fanto Sir says the OLED Switch is amazing, and I know. To be honest, I want to upgrade mine at some point. The team.
To be honest, I say I'm probably going to get the Switch Lite, but knowing me, I'll cave and get the OLED version.
Yeah, that OLED. That apparently it does make a huge difference. That OLED screen as well. Speaking of Pokemon creators and Switches, though, the team behind Pokemon Creatures, the development team, as you might know, Creatures, have put up an advertisement for roles to work on a next generation Nintendo game. Which begs the question: Are we nearing the point where Nintendo are eventually going to bring out that next gen Nintendo?
They kind of have to. They can't really go much further, right?
No. The Switch Lite and the Switch OLED should be the only versions they sell now, and pull the original Switch. It should be,
Do they
because
still sell the original Switch?
they still sell the original Switch.
Don't even know why that's still in circulation then. 'Cause OLED is the thing they want to push more.
Yeah, that and the Switch, but they've got the original Switch, the grey one and the multicolored one, and then they've got the Switch OLED, which comes in grey or white. And then they've got the Switch Lite, which
Yeah,
comes
I don't
in
know.
many variances, and of course you can get limited edition Pokemon ones, and you can get Zelda ones, and so
I think my goal is to get the Switch Lite because, like I said, I'm not. Even if I get the OLED version, I probably won't stream Nintendo content because they can be very iffy with copyright strikes. I mean, I've seen Angry Joe rant about it multiple times.
yeah, yeah. And it's, to be honest, it is a great little console. It just, there's so many quality of life things they need to bring to that console that they still haven't brought. Like, there's still no apps on there, even though they said they're going to bring apps there. Like, you've got basic YouTube and things like that, but that's as far as it goes. You can't access Netflix, or you can't
That's
access
ridiculous.
Disney Plus, or there's none of them apps. There's nothing. You can't do anything on it other than the basics.
That's pretty annoying.
Yeah. It does have like the ability to organize a bit. You can kind of uninstall and install on the fly. Cloud savings as part of it. The online service for it is pretty cheap for an annual. It's not expensive at all. That's like 20 or 30 quid for the annual online service, which of course gets you access
Yeah,
to
it's
loads
pretty
of
cheap.
gets you access to all the historic consoles. So the N64, I'm sure they're bringing GameCube out soon for it. The old SNES, the NES, things like that. All of them are on there, so you can just download them and play all the old games as well as part of your subscription. And I
Yeah,
think,
it's definitely something I'm debating.
yeah.
Probably after God of War though that I decide to pick it up because I'm.
Oh
I have
yeah,
no
and like,
time.
again, Pokemon's not a small game by any means. Like, talking like Sean from Gamers Watch, I think God, he's put about 100 odd 200 hours into Pokemon, and it's easily
Mm.
done. That's not a small game by any stretch, especially the fact
Oh
that this
yeah.
is like a new style, open world, modern day Pokemon based on, I think it's based on Spain or something like that. So yeah, it's huge, but yeah, it intrigues you, this new Pokemon, and you've got that Pokemon itch. Is it just the fact that it's
Yeah.
this new open world feel that you think
I
they've
mean,
got
I
right?
had the Pokemon itch around when Arceus Legends came out,
Yeah,
but it wasn't as bad as it is now.
yeah,
I get it every now and then, that Pokemon itch that needs to be scratched, and then I'll buy a Nintendo console. I mean, the last time I had that was when they remade Ruby and Sapphire
yes,
because they were my favorite Pokemon games growing up with
yeah,
those. I just remember everyone at school being obsessed with like those Pokemon games, and then Pokemon cards were like a massive thing because of the games. And so yeah, I'm feeling that itch again.
yeah, yeah. And I've like Arceus
It's
Legends was brilliant. But I'm looking forward to, because one thing they didn't have in Arceus Legends was things like gym battles and that. So you didn't have that, but you have that on the new ones again, and I'm looking forward to that because it's been a while since I've played an actual normal Pokemon game.
yeah,
But now, of course, you've got that huge open world to go with it as well.
yeah, yeah. I'm really, I'm probably gonna do it.
And of course, one
uh,
thing you've got alongside it now as well is you've got an auto battling system. So essentially a Pokemon that you can select to go out, like essentially walk alongside you, and he just auto battles like Pokemon that you come across. Um, and that kind of helps rank up your Pokemon slowly in the background, but he also means he gets materials and things for crafting whilst he's doing that. So there's
oh, I
loads.
forgot there is crafting in that game. Isn't
Yeah, yeah.
there? But yeah, if I do pick Pokemon up, could you guess which one I'm gonna pick up?
Violet.
Yeah, it's that obvious.
Yep. Just the color, just because of color, not because of the
Just
Pokemon.
because it's Violet.
Yeah. No, but I always
Uh,
literally based it on the Pokemon. So I felt like which of the legendaries looks the most awesome, and of course with Arceus it was just one. It was Arceus.
yeah.
But with the other two, you've got that choice again. You've got like which legendary do you want? And of course, you know the only way to get the other legendary is to trade with each other to get it into your Pokédex. You can't get them both on the same game.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are going to figure out a glitch to clone Pokemon, because I remember that being a thing like on the old Pokemon games.
Used to love it. Used to put it into the daycare center, or especially when you wanted like rare candies.
Yeah.
You used to put it in the daycare center, then you take the rare candy off, and it would like generate 2 or something like that. Then you put one back on again, go to the daycare center, leave it, come back on again. It would have generate another 2.
There being a glitch in Pokemon Gold and Silver where you could get all 3 starting Pokemon.
Why? Yeah.
I just remember that. That's so good, just to run around with all 3 of the starting Pokemon. So you'd be like, I can't choose. Well, I'll have all of them.
Yeah. I'm going to catch up on two of the member chats here. So we've got Stu, for member for 10 months, the midweek shield wall. He said, let's go midweek mix-up universe. And just now we've had 9 months from Fantosur, the highest tier there, mix-up of Valkyrie. Jen, get a Switch and Pokemon and we can battle to become Pokemon Masters. Gotta catch them all, Jen. Gotta catch them all.
I'll probably do it, but it won't be till after I've done Ragnarok.
Yes. That's fine, because I think Pokemon comes out later on in the month, but yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's towards the end of the month, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, to be honest. So a reason to turn on my Switch again, because it has literally been since I finished Pokemon. Played through Pokemon non-stop whilst that was out, and then when it finished, that was it. Back to sleep for the Switch.
Honestly, I've got Demon Souls I need to play as well, and I was talking about that on stream.
Yeah.
I need to play that after God of War, so...
there you go. Fanto said, Christmas we will battle.
Yeah, I probably would have ordered it by then, so...
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be paying off for it anyway, so it's not like I'll be splurging fully out on it. I'll just pay off for it monthly.
Oh, hi. But yes, we will just divert quickly over to this. Woohoo! Back again, chaps. Right. It's been an awesome little episode here, diving into our thoughts on God of War 2018, just before the launch of God of War Ragnarok, of course, on Tuesday midnight, Wednesday. Of course, remember, tomorrow night I'm going to do a short stream on here. I might play a little bit of God of War whilst I'm doing that, depending on if I can manage to get the PlayStation 4 Pro set up on stream. Just while I'm doing the unveiling and the announcement of the giveaway for God of War Ragnarok with Frame a Game, of course, to announce the winner for that competition. So some lucky person who entered the competition will be notified tomorrow if they've won. So keep an eye out on that. Of course, I'll put the link on Twitter and the announcement on Twitter tomorrow so that people know to tune in. And of course, good luck to everybody who has participated in that. Hope somebody wins and thoroughly enjoys it. Of course, naturally, what has to happen is once it is announced, the game, as we know, isn't out yet, so we will receive the game on launch day. Frame Game will then create the decorative frame that it's going into, package it, and then ship it out. So the likelihood is the winner will not get the game until next week. But, of course, you are getting the game for free and in an awesome decorative frame, so I'm sure you can wait a week for that, considering you're winning it. So
I think I'm going to pick that frame up myself.
just the frame, just to box it in afterwards.
The studio.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, I'm going to do the same, because I'm going to pick up the physical edition this time round, so I'm going to put it into a physical frame.
I'll probably do the same. I'll pick up the game at a later date. I'll get the frame. I'll probably get the frame for the first game as well.
Yes, I'm going to do that. Get both of them. Yeah.
I need some more stuff for the background.
God knows where I'm putting them. Anyway, so. As you can see, it's not like I have room on the wall. But yeah, It's if I win, then my missus has to let me get a PlayStation 5, right? Fanto, sir, yes. We have give you permission. So yes, that is the authority. If you win, you have to get a PlayStation 5. I mean, to be honest, you would require it in order to play it. So, what we can do, to be fair, if you've got a PlayStation 4 and you happen to win, it's up to you, because I know on the PlayStation 4, on the disc itself, it does say upgrade available. So even if you win the PlayStation 4 version, you don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, you do get the next gen version with the physical edition of the PlayStation 4 copy. So, and it does state that on the box as well. So if you have a PlayStation 4 and you want to play it now and you don't have a PlayStation 5, or same applies to any of the winners. That can be arranged, of course. We can just get the PlayStation 4 version instead of PlayStation 5. But yes, we will see what we can do. But until then, Jen, let people know where they can find you, brother, and what you've got coming up.
Yep, you can find me on my YouTube channel, The General C, and on Twitter, _General_C. I will be streaming God of War, as we mentioned, at midnight on Tuesday. I'll be live 15 minutes before midnight, set up, prepared, staring at the countdown timer for 15 minutes straight until it goes live. But obviously before that, we'll have Sea of Thieves. So I'll be jumping on some Sea of Thieves with Mick, playing that, and take an hour's break, come back, set up for God of War, and then that'll be me till stupid o'clock in the morning. Might be streaming tomorrow, not entirely sure. I might take a day off tomorrow.
Yeah,
of streaming.
recommend it.
Yeah, but I don't know. If I do stream, I'm probably going to stream a bit of DayZ, because I've been wanting to do that for a few weeks. I reinstalled that on PC and wanted to jump on it. I did jump on it the other week just to try it out off stream, just to get used to the game again. But I just haven't had a chance to stream it yet with playing God of War.
Nice. Yes, awesome stuff. And yeah, of course, tomorrow I'll do that mini stream for the announcement of the giveaway. And then you will see me again on Wednesday for the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. Of course, no Sea of Tuesdays for me, but of course, please jump on to watch Jen and Mick for Sea of Tuesdays, and the rest of the gang, because they will still be doing an episode there. I think there is a special guest tomorrow as well, so please tune in. But yeah, back again Wednesday for myself for the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, and of course straight after that for Mr. Boomstick's Primetime Gaming, and then of course on Thursday for the World of Gaming with Boxenberger. But
I'm sure we'll talk about a bit of God of War on Wednesday.
Yes,
anyway,
we'll get
going
your
into spoilers,
impressions.
of course.
Spoiler-free impressions by Jen on Wednesday. But yes, guys, thank you again once more for coming to join this later than scheduled stream this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. And of course, those of you who watched on demand and those of you who watched live, please make sure you've hit the like and subscribe button, and share it out as well, because that does help as well. Of course, get some more eyes onto this channel. But until then, hope you have an awesome evening, guys, and we will see you all again next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.